Welcome to Q&A session 2 of 5, related to episodes 6 through 9 of the Holistic Wealth Hustle podcast. We are continuing to cover the top 20 lessons learned over 20 years of providing holistic management consulting and professional coaching. The question of the day: did you see Usher's 2024 chest at the Super Bowl 58? If we could all get those results from holistic living, would it be worth it? The next question: can we bring ourselves to believe that we can achieve this level of success by focusing on the rewards and choosing to believe that we can? Change and making adjustments can be terrifying, but Usher and others survived, and look at his amazing results. His success in this area of life not only made him physically better, but more marketable as well. I imagine those muscles equal money. Didn't he look like he could have been on the next draft pick for the Chiefs or the 49ers? As you will hear shortly, I'm glad to know that Usher and I share a common nutritional approach. While my abs are not as beautiful as his are, I will say I have benefited from the program. And let me introduce you to today's guest, who also had his different yet beneficial journey of managing and being proactive with his health. Just like Usher, he is a grand success that we can all learn something from. So stay tuned and listen in, and I hope you enjoy his conversation. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Darryl Miller. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today on the Holistic Wealth Hustle podcast, featuring your host, Pamela Ramos Brown of Be Wealthy with Pamela, LLC. So thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invite, Pamela.
Well, Darryl, please introduce yourself and let our guests know who you are and where you are sharing your story from.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Pamela. So my name is Darryl Miller. I currently reside in Ashburn, Virginia, and I have, I guess, many different things that I probably want to share with everyone today. One, and the most important, I guess, would be what I recently went through, and which is a kidney transplant. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who have renal disease. Some are aware, some are not. But for the ones who are definitely aware, I have some information that hopefully we can, share with you today, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to at least someone out there. I'm pretty sure that it will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I thank you so much. And I was so excited to hear your enthusiasm for sharing the information. And the thing that stayed with me is that you really felt that sharing this information could be helpful to possibly saving somebody's life. And so, how often do we get a chance to help save somebody's life? That's really wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Pam, and
Mhm.
looking forward to it as well. I know you hear these cliches all the time, but for me, I truly believe that this is a mission from God, right? To share my
Absolutely.
story as once again, I just have it in my heart that someone will benefit from this.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, one of the reasons too that I'm interested in hearing your story and helping you to share it is, as you know, with the Holistic Wealth podcast, the reason why I use the word holistic now is because as my years as a management consultant, I focused on helping people with their business and just helping them to grow and manage and, try to be successful. And so one of the things I learned over those years is that people generally have life issues that go on during the same time that they're running their business. And those life issues have been some of the things that have made a difference in how successful their business is. It makes a difference while they're running their business. And I've learned that it makes a tremendous difference when they are planning to, exit their business. Because oftentimes those issues with, family members, uh, taking over the business or a spouse. Maybe they're going through a divorce or have gone through a divorce or relationship issues with their business partners. But then a lot of times it has to do with their health because they really didn't, have the opportunity to kind of run their business as long as they thought that they would so that they could, finish on a good note, go and enjoy all of the fruits of their labor. And so that's why it's so important for people to, be able to take care of their health as best as possible and as soon as possible. So I'm really excited about you sharing some of the things that you're sharing today. So I wanted to ask you, how long have you been? I think well, I know you're with the federal government, and I don't know if that's the only employer that you've had, but how long have you been with the federal government?
It's been, it'll be exactly 15 years this coming June. Right.
Oh my
And
goodness,
I know time
congratulations.
flies. It seems like I just joined the government yesterday.
Yes.
Prior to that, I was exclusively in the private sector.
Mhm.
I'm one of these IT telecommunications, software engineering geeks.
Oh,
I
yes.
have roughly about 37 years of experience in total, including my experiences at the federal government.
Yes.
You name it, I've done it. I mean,
Okay.
every job, every job under the moon. From a person who makes cables and routes cables and
Mhm,
connect computers physically to a person who's a senior engineer, chief engineer,
mm,
as well as deputy CIO for a federal agency. So
yes.
it's you have a lot of experiences there professionally.
Okay, well, wonderful, yes. I mean, you're in the field that is just keep getting stronger and better and more creative and exciting all of the time, so
It is, Pam, I tell you, and it changes so quickly. It's
Mhm,
you think about people who are in medical profession,
yes,
and they have to constantly go to get recertified or new information for the new technologies and treatments and
mhm,
things that are coming out, especially the medicines, right, that are coming out. They always have to kind of be on board or knowledgeable about the latest and greatest trends and things of that nature.
mhm,
And it's probably just as bad in the IT area.
mm,
It's technology changes so quickly, so you
yeah,
find yourself, if not recertifying, at least reading up on the latest and greatest things so that you don't become a dinosaur, right? So you kind of
absolutely.
stay in tune.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to know, because since you have this firsthand experience of having a wonderful career and also having a significant illness, could you tell us how one has affected the other? How has your job, been any level of stress or anything, or long hours, that may have contributed to your job? Or has your illness, had any impact on your career? Or has your illness or has your career been on the flip side of things where, it has been good to you that you've been able to actually benefit from being in the career you're in to, have the level of health care and, prevention and things like that you needed. So tell
Yeah,
us about that.
Pamela, that's a wonderful question to tell you. It's I think back to we try, especially as men, right? We try
Mm,
to have this strong mindset and level of confidence about ourselves, and we don't really want to show weakness or
mm,
vulnerability to others. That's just kind of how we're wired.
mhm,
But I think about what you said a few moments ago regarding healthy business and
mhm.
how it really kind of directly correlates to a healthy mindset and a healthy physical body, if you will.
Yes.
And I think that the two definitely, tie together. If a person is physically fit, if a person is mentally strong, doesn't have a lot of illnesses or distractions, if you will, in that area, then I would think, it seems logical that their businesses would kind of correlate to that, right?
Mhm.
They have one, they have more time.
Uh-huh.
2, they have more energy,
Yeah.
and 3, they're more focused, right? Probably a few other things come into play there too. And for
Mhm.
me, same or something very similar. But as much as I hate to admit that it had a negative impact on my health, it did, right? Whether I want to admit it or not, I found myself, becoming, I'm a very go-getting, very proactive, not reactive type person,
Mhm.
and I try to stay in that mindset. But I also find myself being very careful about the level of stress that I brought upon myself because
Mm.
of my health
Okay.
situation.
Yes.
So I may not have been as aggressive as I probably should have with going after more high visibility positions because I wanted something that was a little bit more low key because I knew at some point that I would have to have, this procedure,
Mm.
and having this procedure, I could be out for, 2 to 3 to 4, maybe even 5 months, right? Depending on how things go.
Yes.
And didn't want to put myself, in risk of, getting laid off or losing my job or something,
Mhm.
by not being able to perform.
Make
So as much as I like to admit it or hate to admit it, it has had an impact on me.
Okay.
But I have strong religious beliefs, and I always knew that I would be able to get through this with the help of God. And obviously, I still have a long ways to go. I have had my surgery. I had it roughly a month and a half ago. But I'm doing exceptionally well at this time,
Wonderful.
and I know that I have a lot of information to share with others who might also be experiencing something, some complexities with renal health.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, just want you to know that you are not alone. I think I may have shared just a tiny bit of information with you about some of the medical professionals that I follow. I'm definitely not an expert in any kind of way. I just have a few favorites, and one of my favorites is Dr. Gundry. And one of the things I learned about him is that he also served as the doctor for one of my other favorites persons, which is Tony Robbins.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and Tony Robbins, he was actually, from my understanding, in renal failure. And it's an interesting story about how it goes because he got sick, and then Dr. Gundry helped him. He got sick again, and they eventually kind of figured out what was going on and why he kept getting himself in that situation. But Dr. Gundry was able to kind of help him, and it's a lot of people that, particularly from the African American community, that deal with these types of things. So it is something that could possibly be very helpful to a lot of people. So we're
Oh,
really
absolutely.
interested in helping you to get connected to people. Are there a few things you would like to share? You can always, of course, if you want to, just kind of share your contact information and things like that for people to follow up. But while we're talking now, are there a couple of things that you wanted to
Yeah,
share?
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. One, I'll give you my email address. This is not my primary email, but
Okay.
it is one that I check all the time.
Okay.
It is D as in dog, M as in Miller, I as in indigo, LLE 20. So the number 2, the number 0 at Comcast.net. So DMILLE 20 at Comcast, COMCAST.net.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
please, anyone out there, feel free to reach out to me about anything related to renal failure. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, but
Hmm.
I've gone through the process of having a transplant. It does run in my family, and we can
Ah,
talk about that if you like. It's called autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease, or short acronym for that is AD, um, PKD,
yeah.
and which just means that I have the genetic form of a disease which slowly takes your kidney function away. And it does this by building packs or pouches, if you will, of fluid that kind of attach to the kidney.
Hmm.
And eventually it gets to the point where you have so many of these things that it sort of deforms the kidney and prevents the kidney ultimately from filtering properly.
Okay.
So it just sort of slowly takes that functionality away. And there are blood tests that the industry performs, uh,
Okay.
which can detect if you have renal failure or some kind of renal disease.
Mhm.
The one that everyone probably knows about is your creatinine levels.
Yes.
You'll find that if those levels get down low enough, you have the different various stages: stage one, two, three, and four. Four is essentially end stage renal disease, and
Mhm.
then at the very end of four is what they call complete renal failure,
Yeah.
and that's when a person has to go on dialysis.
Mhm.
And dialysis is an option to save your life, but
Mhm.
definitely not an option that you would like to be
Mhm.
on, because for one, it doesn't filter out all the toxins in the body,
Oh.
and two, it's a very involved process where you probably have to be hooked up to this machine for 3 to 4 times a week,
Ooh,
and for maybe a few hours at a time.
my goodness.
A few hours could be 2, 3, or 4 hours, right? Fortunately, did not have to go through that particular part of the process because I was able to get a transplant
Oh,
right before I had the need to go on dialysis.
wow.
But
Yes.
then again, I've known about this my whole life, so I knew that this was coming, and
Mhm.
I could say that I planned accordingly and did all the right things. But it was God,
Okay.
guiding me.
Mhm.
And if you'd like to talk about, more about the renal disease, I'd be glad to talk about that, and also my experiences, and also how I feel that I can help others who may also be going through this. But if you do want to do that, one thing I want to mention was another doctor um, on the internet that I listen to a lot. His name is Gabe Merkin,
Mhm.
and I'm not even sure if Dr. Gabe Merkin, GabeMirkin, is still alive, but
Oh,
someone is still running his, you know,
yeah.
sharing his information. And I've listened to him for many, 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 many years.
Okay.
And he's board certified or was board certified in a few
Yeah.
different disciplines. And he also sends out information on a monthly basis. And
Okay.
I would highly recommend that
Hmm.
that your audience at least try to tune into him as well.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I know people love to, you know, get information on a regular basis that they can digest and learn over time and things like that. And so heard you say you planned accordingly. So I assume that this was part of your planning that you did.
Yeah, so there's a lot of research out there. One by going to the different hospitals, and you'll find that each of your nephrologists, right? They'll tell you something different, right?
Oh, yeah.
But different in the form of sharing different types of information with you and educating you in a different way. It's not to say that I'm sure some are better than others, but
Mhm.
what I found is every time I talk to a different nephrologist, I get different bits of information, right, that are really, really helpful.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I was registered in roughly 5 hospitals.
Wow.
So I had a chance to talk to, five plus different teams and physicians. And throughout that process, for many, many years of talking to these doctors, I was able to gain a lot of information about renal failure. And
Mhm.
fortunately, I don't have the stats in front of me in terms of the amount of people in America that suffer from this, but you'll find that it's a very complex, um, industry or area, and it hasn't always been favorable to people of color.
Mm.
And I can explain that if you want, but depending on if you want to talk about that or not.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We know that in our community, certain, areas of life have, been more impactful to us. So, certainly, we definitely need to know where are the, you know, issues that we definitely need to pay attention to more so than others.
Okay. So there is an organization called UNOS, stands for the United Network for Organ Sharing, and they're sort of the governing body, if you will, for transplant candidates across the United States, and putting out regulations and things of that nature for how people can be tracked in terms of their lab numbers and whatnot. They might do some other things too that I'm just unfamiliar with, but
Mhm.
there's been at least up until I think sometime last year, probably beginning to mid last year. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but there were certain ratings and indexes that would be created. I don't know why these indexes were ultimately created, but they were known as EGFR, or estimated, something like estimated glomerular filtration rate. And
Mhm.
it's a number or an index that's based off of a person's creatinine levels, right? I mentioned earlier that your creatinine levels are pretty
Mm.
much the indication, the industry standard indication for your kidney health.
Mhm.
But what we found, and what I didn't know until UNOS reported this about a year or so ago, is that there were different numbers for African Americans.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So when you went to a lab, and I probably shouldn't mention the names of the labs, but everyone knows them, the real popular ones that are here that we all go to
Mhm.
outside hospitals, even including the ones in the hospitals. Up until sometime last year, or recently, I should say, guys, I can't remember the exact date, you were given two numbers. You were
Okay.
getting a EGFR number for an African American, and then you were given another number for a non-African American.
Oh,
And as I mentioned earlier, if you, well, I didn't mention this specifically, but if your EGFR was at level 20, then yeah, it's a number that gets lower and lower and lower until you get completely into kidney failure. But
okay.
level 20 was pretty much the threshold for a person being considered for a kidney transplant.
Okay.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the EGFR for African Americans was elevated higher than your non-African American number.
Hmm. Oh.
So, so indirectly, what that created was a situation where you were delayed, if you will, potentially delayed, I should say, getting to the
Mhm.
transplant list.
Ah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
others
Yeah.
who weren't classified as African Americans were able to get on that list before you.
Mm. Wow.
So depending on how close you were to those 20s. So
Yeah.
fortunately, once again, I don't know exactly, it was a year ago or a year and a half ago, but
Mm.
UNOS forced these labs to stop reporting on the EGFR value for African Americans.
Oh my
So now we're
God.
being treated just like everyone else. And then they gave these patients the ability to get adjustments, right, for the time that they potentially had lost, right,
Mhm.
for not being able to get on the kidney transplant list early.
Okay.
So if you are close to renal failure, I would highly recommend that you look into the UNOS ruling, and you contact your hospital, or you look at your labs to see if you had ever been at 20 for a non-African American, and if
Okay.
you were, that would qualify you for getting a time adjustment for when you do get on the kidney transplant list.
Mm, okay. That's very good
You're healthy
information.
enough to get on those
Mhm.
lists.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole
Mhm.
of
I understand.
racism and everything else, but it is something that you want to be
Mhm.
cognizant of, that
Yes.
there is an option for you as an African American to get
Mm.
to receive this benefit. Now, for the people, unfortunately, who we lost,
Mhm.
nothing we can do about them,
Right. Mhm.
but it's good that you know about it, at least.
Okay. Well, our ancestors, a lot of times they send us messages from heaven, to help us with things that we may not have found out without them being there. So, so one of our ancestors may have led you to this information. So
Oh,
we
oh,
can.
absolutely. God put it in my heart, Pamela,
Yes.
right after my surgery, that, I need to be a voice, to help
Mhm.
others. And
Yes.
nothing's gonna stop me from doing that. I've already talked to a few pastors, and I wanna go out to their churches, and I just wanna share this message.
Mhm.
And one other thing that you can do in the process of doing this too is, especially if you're close to renal failure, there's a website called srtr.gov, and it's a website that will allow a person to do research on institutions across the United States, and what the institution or hospital failure rates are, how long the waiting lists are at these hospitals,
Wow.
and all sorts of other good statistical data. I like to kind of drive my business operations by metrics, right?
Mhm.
And this is a site that kind of gives you everything and anything that you need regarding, in my opinion at least, regarding stats on the performance of these hospitals and medical centers.
Okay. Well,
So once again, it's
interesting.
srtr.org, Yeah.
Okay.
Was it gov? Is it org? I think it's srtr.org. Give me a second and I'll double check that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds
Yes, it's
good.
srtr.org.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay, well, that's good to know, is because I know that it's one of the hardest things. And actually, I do remember before when people have called me, and I'm sure they didn't just call me, but people check around and they say, "Well, what do you consider to be the best hospital around here?"
Oh, yeah.
And that was pretty much the way that people knew which hospital to go to,
Mhm.
and then some of them were known for, maybe heart attacks. Some of them may have been known for, emergency wound care, just different things. And so, but this is really good to know that there are some real stats out there where you can look
Absolutely.
at some solid information about, their historical performance. So that's
Absolutely.
nice.
And that's one, way that I was able to find, the hospital that I ultimately went at. Um, I'm not sure how deep you wanna go down this rabbit hole, but the, you'll find that, depending on the blood type that a person is, that also has a direct correlation to, the amount of wait time that they might have to wait if and when they're eligible to get on the kidney transplant list. And I
Wow.
say that and that doesn't matter, what ethnicity that you come from. And I say
Mhm.
that because if, you're blood type O, the good thing about blood type O is that I can give my organs as a blood type O patient to anyone. And,
Oh.
however, I can only receive an organ from another person who's also a blood type O.
Oh.
Um, yeah, now there are some other, programs, that a person can take advantage of, and it's called a paired exchange, I believe, where you can receive tokens, for someone who might want to help you, who's not compatible with you, uh,
Mhm.
ultimately get into this network, if you will, as a living donor, and then the system will find someone else who's in the same boat, or another couple who's in the same boat,
Hmm.
and the person in that relationship can help you. Then we'll do what they call a paired exchange, and you'll kind of switch things out accordingly, right?
Mhm.
Um, but ultimately, just looking at, and it is possible, because science has progressed, a little bit, a lot, I should say,
Mhm.
in the last 10 years or so. It is
Yes.
ultimately still possible to receive an organ from a different blood type, I believe. Don't
Okay.
quote me on that. However, it's a very risky situation, and
Mm.
medications and things are involved, and
Yes,
it's just,
compatible.
it's
Mhm.
not a path, in my opinion, that you probably wanna take advantage of. Once again, I'm not a doctor here, right? This
Yeah,
is just
I
me
understand.
talking to some
Yep.
of the things that, I'm vaguely familiar with.
Yeah.
But if you're a blood type A or AB or whatever, ultimately you can receive, um, 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 an organ from someone of your blood type, as well as someone from the O family, right?
Mhm. Okay. Yes.
So being an O, you have a few disadvantages there if you're the recipient, at least if
Mhm.
you're looking for an organ.
Yes.
But that's not to be discouraged, because it
Mhm.
does still happen. You're just pushed back on the list by quite a few years,
Okay.
which is which is one of the reasons why I signed up, where I went to the srtr.org, website,
Mhm.
able to find, and I'll say the name of this hospital. It's called the University of Toledo Medical Center. It's
Mhm.
in Toledo, Ohio, and they're institution that, specializes in, I guess you can call them, high risk transplants, which just
Oh.
means that
Mhm.
they will use organs that many other hospitals might pass over on, right?
Mm. Okay.
And it's not because, necessarily because the organs are bad organs,
Mhm.
but it's, really because other hospitals, for one reason or another, are just looking for, this, this is me saying this, right? I have no proof that this is the case,
Mhm.
but, maybe some of the other hospitals are just looking for, perfect matching organs that, that would help their statistics, right? Help their
Oh,
success rates and things of that nature.
and they wanna be safer, everybody
Yeah,
wants to take the safer route if they can.
that's right. Yeah,
So that's understandable. But it is good to know that there's someone out there that says, okay, well, the people who, can't wait until the safe, bet comes along for them need help now,
that's
then
right.
they're, as an alternative and as a resource to help those people
That's right.
who, just may not have as many options as some of the other ones. So that's good
Yeah.
to know.
And
Mhm.
University of Toledo Medical Center, they've had a very high success rate.
Okay.
So it works, right?
Oh,
And
wonderful.
and
Mhm.
it here it is. I have a transplant today, and I'm doing just fine. My creatinine levels are shooting straight up again,
Ooh, good.
and I'm feeling well. So
Okay. Well, you sound good.
all right, I'm
That's
sorry, going down. I mean,
okay.
going down.
Well, great.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the so it's I would just say, yeah, look into that. I can tell you that I went through an exceptionally well experience there. Uh,
Mhm.
Professions, they do this all the time. And from what I was told, the list that this hospital, at least the region that this hospital is part of, they're one of the few regions that actually clear their list every year.
Oh, okay.
It was something like 300 to 400 or so transplants, and you'll find that most other transplant lists around the nation don't have
Mhm.
rates anywhere near that. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's really, really good information. I'm sure it's going to be a blessing to somebody somewhere. And so, one of the things that this kind of still kind of reminds me of too, when you mentioned about you did your preparation, your planning, your research, and things like that. That's my background. That's what I do for a living. Is kind of help people with their, planning and preparation as a performance consultant. And you even mentioned that word a couple of times, and so it just reminded me of, from a health perspective, one of the things that I had to make an adjustment for my life was kind of learning more about plant-based nutrition.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people, some people love it, and then there are other people who, are not really into it at all. And, some people love to, the idea of being a vegan. And then there are some people who are like, absolutely not for me. So I understand. And so I have, taken what I think benefits me from, this particular nutritional plan and that particular one. And, just kind of made it for myself. And so one of the doctors, again, that I mentioned previously was Dr. Gundry. Some of the other ones, of course, I've loved Dr. Oz too. He's taught me a whole lot. Dr. Ian Smith, who hosts the Doctor's TV show. And that was wonderful to see an African American man hosting a show like that. He's the first one to even be a solo host on there. So, that was very positive, because in our community, things like that, they really do make a difference. I know some people can't relate to it, but, it's almost like in any family when you have the first person to go to college, how everybody's so excited and they feel like it's such an achievement for the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in our community, when we have the first this or the first that, or some kind of thing to celebrate, then to us is very special. And so, one of the things that they mentioned too, just about kind of being plant based, really does kind of help from a health perspective because I helped to take care of my mom for several years. So I had to learn it for myself. So, are there any particular, things that you had to change, with regards to your, day to day, nutritional approach as part of your preparation for that date that you knew that was coming and the things that you knew that were, coming with regards to your health?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Pamela. And the answer is absolutely yes.
Mhm.
You'll find that kidney disease causes all sorts of other problems.
Mm,
I think
mhm,
we all know about the swelling of your extremities, especially around the ankles. We know about the risk factors of high blood pressure, where kidney disease also plays a direct role into that.
mhm.
If you have high blood pressure, it hurts the kidneys, and then having bad kidneys also induces high blood pressure. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of these circular type things, and it's kind of hard to get off of that. So it's really
Mhm.
important to watch your sodium intake, of all things. I know as
Mm.
African Americans, we have a tendency to eat a lot of, salty, starchy type foods. And yeah, you really want to be, especially fried foods and things of that nature and triglycerides, you really want to be really, really careful about ingesting these things, especially if you have kidney disease.
Mhm.
And the one thing that that we always need to be careful about is diabetes, right? And
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
which also, kind of runs high in our community. And
Yes.
the bad thing about having renal disease is if you're, blessed to ultimately get a transplant, the medications that they put you on for anti-rejection meds also bring on diabetes.
Oh,
Uh,
no.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
potentially. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it's really, really good to be as healthy as you can
Yeah.
going into these surgeries, because on the backside, things could get really, really tricky for you. If you get diabetes while you're trying to protect a new organ that you have, it's just increases the risk, exponentially. And
Mhm.
one thing you don't want to do is get to a situation where you lose the kidneys because of diabetes,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Which is always an option,
Okay.
or possible, I should say.
Yes.
And the one thing I was also reminded of is I talked to one of the surgeons at one of the renal surgeons before I had my procedure, and he reminded me of the importance of not having a big belly, right?
Mm.
Because what happens, I've always thought that, well, for kidney transplant, they just go through the back, right? Because no, they actually go through your stomach.
Oh, wow.
And the bigger the stomach that you have, the more risk, right, in terms of healing, that
Wow.
comes into play. It also just makes the procedure a little bit more difficult because you have so much
Ooh.
material to get through. So try to be as healthy as you can. You mentioned about the diet earlier.
Mhm.
It's really, really important, especially for men. You don't have that big belly there because they go through your belly. And
Mhm.
and typically, unless the kidneys that you were born with are have gone rancid or something, they're gonna leave those in. They're just gonna give you a third kidney, and,
Oh.
they're gonna put it, they're gonna go through the stomach and put it right there, sort of in your pelvic region area.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's just really, really important to keep your weight down, and different hospitals have different thresholds, about BMI, body mass index.
Uh-huh.
But if a person is like around 35 or 34 BMI, some hospitals won't even do the procedure on you.
Wow.
So and that's the last thing that you want is to be in a dire straight situation where you need a new kidney and
Yes.
you're overweight. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So no one's going to give you that kidney. And
Mhm.
you just don't want to be in that boat. So try to be as healthy as you can. Please watch your diets. You'll find that there are a lot of foods out there that are just not good for us. And we can talk all day about preservatives and
Yeah.
different, artificial sweeteners, which are just absolutely terrible for you. But one thing I want to mention too, there's an app that I found recently. It's called Yuka, Yuka,
Okay.
and I have it on my cell phone. And when I go to grocery stores, anything that has a barcode on it, you can use this app and scan that barcode, and it will tell you if it's a hazardous food or if it's a bad food or if it's a good
Ooh,
food.
okay.
And I find it extremely useful when I go to these grocery stores. And
Okay.
it's literally like you work there. You just take your
Mm.
hold the camera up to the barcode,
Uh-huh.
gives you an immediate response and tells you all about that product.
Oh my goodness, and that's called Yuka, Y-U-C-A?
Yeah, YUKA.
Oh, Y-U-K-A. Okay. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I have to check that out, and, oh, that's probably worse for me because I'm already one of those people who are labor readers and be in the store for 2 hours.
I tell
Um,
you, yeah, and Pam, it's great because it actually makes shopping fun, right?
mhm,
Yeah, you
yes.
see these products and you'd be surprised the things that always I used to always buy these jalapeno peppers, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
ones that are in the jar, they're already pickled. And I thought, "Okay, how bad could that be?" Well, I scanned this thing, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." Because it's full of preservatives like sodium bisonate, which causes cancer and all kinds of other things,
Mhm.
and they do that to increase the shelf life, but,
Wow,
it's just so bad for you, and you don't know it, you know?
right. Uh-huh. Wow, my goodness. Well, this is, a good tip right here. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing too, did you happen to see the Super Bowl this weekend?
Yes, I did, and, I kinda wish that I have 2 favorite teams, And I've never been in a situation like this where I had the Baltimore Ravens and the
Mhm.
Detroit Lions potentially going to the Super Bowl, potentially even playing each other. And what
Mm.
were the chances for both teams losing?
Oh.
Right before, the chance to go. And the Lions have never been to the Super Bowl before.
Mhm.
Ravens obviously won many, many, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years ago or something like that. Um, but the Lions had never been, so I was really looking forward to them doing something. But unfortunately, both of my favorite teams folded.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons I thought about the Super Bowl was because Usher was performing.
Oh, yeah.
And just like I mentioned about Tony Robbins being one of Dr. Gundry's advocates of patients, then also, believe it or not, Usher was one of his fans as well and used his nutritional program.
I didn't
When
know that.
he Yeah, so when he pulled off his little shirt and everything and showed everybody his nice body,
I think I looked away at that time.
I think I looked harder. And you notice that he had a flat stomach. And one of the things, Dr. Gundry, when he's playing, he tells people like he helped Kelly Clarkson to reverse her autoimmune disease. But he also tells people, that you can focus on what to not eat, like you talked about this Yuka app, and you won't even have to exercise if you kind of get your nutritional plan correct. And so the reason why Usher ended up going to him is because he was auditioning for the role to play Sugar Ray Leonard in the movie. And Sugar Ray told him, "Man, you too fat. You got too much fat on you. You can't play me. You're not qualified." And so Usher was running around. He said he tried several different diet programs. Usher has never been fat.
Yeah,
So he had tried several different diet plans to get cut. And so he said a friend of a friend told him about Dr. Gundry. So he tried it and he was able to get cut, the way that he needed to be able to win the role of Sugar Ray Leonard. So he ended up reaching out to Dr. Gundry and say, "Hey, I know I don't know you, but I just want to let you know that your plan really helped me." And as a result, I was successful at getting a role to play Sugar Ray Leonard. And when you mentioned this about not having a big stomach, I thought about that and I was like, man, this is another great reason for people to,
yeah.
you know, get rid of that stomach. So, what did you do to, work on that part of it? Did you get an exercise plan or was it related to your nutritional plan? What did you do with regards to trying to manage that part of
Yeah.
your
In
body?
all
Mhm.
honesty, it's a good question. I don't have a six pack yet, but I'm still working on it. Yeah.
I have to follow Usher's, role,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
But actually, I did 2 things really. One was, as you mentioned earlier, the diet, right? Because diet is so, so important. Um,
Mhm,
and I did a basic principle of in and out. In other words, do take less in than what you do in terms of burning calories and trying to lose weight, which is
mhm.
exercise. And without running, I just do a lot of walking, right? I
Okay.
especially during the summer months here in Virginia, the weather is very good typically, actually most of the months throughout the year. And I
Mhm,
have a little path. It's like a 3.5 mile path. I just kind of walk at about a 3 mile an hour pace for the
mhm,
entire path. And you'll find that, after about a week, your energy
mhm,
levels are up, especially if you're not
mhm,
gulping down fast foods or anything like that.
mhm.
And you will lose weight. That coupled
Oh.
with drinking lots of water. I can't stress that
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah.
Water is so, so, so important, especially to someone's renal disease.
Okay. Mm.
And unless you're on dialysis, if you're on dialysis, then the whole ball game changes. You can't drink a lot of water. You have to monitor
Oh,
all your fluid
no.
intakes because
No.
you have to know how much you took in so they know how much to take out, right?
Okay.
And
Mhm,
but if you're not on dialysis, I can't stress enough about the
mhm,
importance of flushing those kidneys and drinking as much water as you possibly can. So for me, it was the water drinking, the walking, and then watching the types of foods, right?
mhm.
Right. And we
Yeah.
mentioned the plant-based diets, and
Mhm,
I think most of us will agree that consuming less animal protein and getting your protein from plants
mhm.
is
Yeah.
probably a very, very good idea. Many people have talked about that.
Yeah.
And I know Dr. Gundry talks about it a lot. And
Mhm.
his thing is legumes, right? Legumes, which is
Mhm.
another
See.
very important aspect of a good diet.
Right. Don't
But
eat them.
the other thing is, some of these, especially the things that you buy in the grocery stores that we call plant-based, you have to be real careful because, the vast majority, if not all of them, are still processed foods. And
Yeah, I have seen quite a few processed plant-based
that's right.
stuff.
So,
Mhm.
when we see these things, it's sort of like looking at something that says, no sugar. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, there's no natural sugars, but they have all these artificial sugars, which create other problems, right?
Mhm. That's true.
So, yeah, so we just have to be real careful about the things that we consume, and educating ourselves can go
Mhm.
a long way. I can't stress
Mhm.
enough about diet, and if you know how to prepare foods on your own, I highly recommend that you do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yes.
you know exactly what's in them.
Okay. Well, good. Well, this has been very educational and very helpful. I'm sure somebody's going to be blessed by this information. And actually, it's helpful to me too because I think my sodium intake has been creeping up lately, and my water intake has been creeping down. So I really need to double back and get back on it. When you're working all of the time, you have a tendency to kind of, you know, take the easy way out. Uh,
Oh, that is so true, Pam. Yeah,
mhm,
so true. And we're coming home retired after a long
mhm,
day at work or something, or being
right.
out, and you see this fast food joint, and you say, "Oh, y'all just get a quick cheeseburger or something."
Right. That's so
Now,
true.
yeah, do your best to hold off from it. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, I do a decent job of like my meal planning. I plan my meals and I try to plan my snacks. But there's sometimes when the week just gets so hectic and you mess up, and next thing you know. And so that's one thing I do like about Dr. Oz, Dr. Gundry, and these other people like that who do, tell you, like even like Dr. Gundry, one thing that was comforting is that he said, well, do your best. Sometimes there is like sometimes he's been on vacation and he said, well, I just hate everything. I didn't even worry about it until I got back home. And he said it took him about 2 weeks to reset. So that's one of the things that's so important is that we have to realize that, when you fall off the wagon, just get back on the wagon. Don't
Yeah,
beat yourself up. Don't beat your spouse up or your child up or whoever it is that may have pushed you off the wagon or fallen off the wagon with you or something like that. Don't beat anybody up. Just get off the ground, dust yourself up, get back on the wagon, and keep going. You
yeah,
know,
that's right.
Today is another day. Everybody has a new day every day.
Yeah, it
That-
took us many, many years to get here, and you're not going to get back overnight, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And so, that's the thing that's real important for us. So always, something that's encouraging makes a difference in people's performance than something that's discouraging. So, just, stay encouraged, stay excited and stay hopeful. So, and we thank you for helping with that. We really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. And again, if anyone wants to reach out to me, DMILLE20 at Comcast.net.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Darryl Miller. So we thank you so very much. We appreciate you and we absolutely wish you the best.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate it.
Have a great one.
Same to you.
Thank you for continuing to be a part of the Holistic Wealth Hustle podcast by Be Wealthy with Pamela LLC. Each episode is designed to please. Be sure to take swift action on what you have learned today and update your weekly wealth planner or your holistic plan workbook to receive your rewards of joyfulness. Feel free to leave your comments below or by contacting us at www.bewealthywithpamela.com. That's B-E Wealthy with PAMELA.com. Please subscribe, share, stay tuned, and let joy pursue you.